Good evening, depending on where you are joining us from in the world. My name is Meg. I am so excited to be hosting you today. Now, before we dive on into our questions, I'm going to try and share my screen here. I think it looks like it might have been disabled. So while I keep fixing that in the background, I'll walk y'all through some of the housekeeping items and stuff that you can expect during today's event. Let's see. All right. So first things first, today's event, like all of our virtual events, is all about you. It's about our community members, and we want to make sure that you all are as free as possible to participate in any way you would like during these events. So to that end, you are absolutely encouraged to turn your cameras on if you'd like. I see you've got a bunch of people starting to join us. I'm always really keen to see new faces. We might be out of quarantine, but I still spend all of my time at home with my dogs and my husband. So if you want to share your smiling, maskless faces with us safely, please feel free to do so. Now, I will just encourage y'all that if you have any kind of privacy issues or concerns or anything, totally understandable. Just know that as long as you don't come off mute during today's session, no matter whether your camera is on or off, you will not show up on the the live stream or the recording of today's event. Now, I did mention, like I said, today's session is being recorded. So what that means for you is that you don't have to take notes. You get to kick back. You get to, enjoy the presentation, enjoy the discussions and the conversation we're about to have. And not worry if, maybe you missed the second to last resource or the name of that, the name of that website that somebody mentioned. You can always go back and check out the recording later. Now, what's going to happen is while we're having this conversation, we're live streaming it to our YouTube channel, and we're also going to be posting the link on our Powerfly website, where it'll be hosted there as well in a couple days. So everyone that registered for today's session, regardless of whether you show up or you don't, if you stayed for 5 minutes, you came for the full 60, doesn't matter. Everybody's going to get an email from Power to Fly in about 1 to 2 days where you can rewatch today's recording. Now, let's say that you hear something on today's chat that is just so mind-blowing, amazing, you cannot wait to share it with a friend or a coworker or relative, you don't have to wait. You can always, like I said, go over to our YouTube channel. The video is usually posted there within about 5 to 15 minutes at the end of the live stream. And like I said, you can always search our archives on our website. We have a ton of selection of our most popular chats on our YouTube channel as well. So we absolutely recommend that, not only do you check out this video, but search around, see if there's some other resources that we might be able to give you as well. Now, I did mention that we are on a couple different social media platforms. We are at Power to Fly on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So if you are part of those social media platforms, we very much encourage you, if you'd like, take photos or video as we go. Let your social media network know that you are learning with Power to Fly. We want to do anything we can to spread the awareness and the resources and the accessibility of this information with as many people as possible. So please feel free to share out. If you tag us, we would love to retweet, reshare, repost, whatever it is you send out as well. So please feel free to do that. Now, our guests here are they're with us today on behalf of Esri. So before we go any further, I just want to highlight Esri's company page on powerfly.com. So I'll send you the link for this in the chat in just a second here. But what this is every company on Powerfly has a company page. And when you are here and you're checking out Esri's, you can do a couple really great things. You can learn more about Esri. You can check out information on their open roles, their benefits, all kinds of stuff like that. But the other thing you can do is, like I said, search their jobs. The screen that you're looking at right now is a screenshot of Esri's company page. And it looks like, oh my gosh, they even have 74. Yeah, there's actually more jobs posted now. So super great, and we love to see it. So definitely take a look at Esri. If you are, let's say you're Lord, y'all, it's Monday and English is so hard, and that's not okay when it's the only language you speak. So all of this to say, you can check out open roles on Esri. If you are actively looking and don't see anything that suits you, at the top right-hand corner of that page, there's going to be a big pink button that says follow. Clicking that does some great things for you, but effectively what it does is it works like your friend at Esri. So it's going to let Esri know that you are interested in working with them even before you fill out a job application, but it's also going to allow Power to Fly to keep you posted when they post new roles. So try and take some of the the guesswork or the really repetitive nature out of job seeking, and let us keep you in the loop. We want to do this for you. So take advantage of all these great tools and widgets and stuff that Powerfly has, but absolutely check out Esri. I think you will be pleasantly surprised by this amazing company. So joining us today to talk about some really amazing subject matter today, we have 3 of Esri's top team members. So first up, we have Jennifer Laws. Now, Jen is the lead advisor for natural resources, environment, and geodesign, as well as being a consultant, as a consultant in the environment and geodesign department in the Esri Professional Services Division. Now, Jen has 9 years of experience in this area and has been with Esri for 5 years, where she focuses on supporting customers in defining, planning, and executing their geospatial strategies. So welcome, Jen. We're so happy to have you with us today. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience before we introduce your 2 co-speakers?
Yeah, thanks, Meg. The only thing I would add is I am also a 3-peat summer intern. So if anyone is also interested in Esri's internship opportunities, don't hesitate to reach out to me and I can provide more information on that as opposed to full-time positions.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. There's plenty of people that are always interested in internships. So very, very cool. Thanks, Jen, for sharing. Jen is going to be joined in conversation today by Taryn Fowlkes. Now, Taryn is a mid-market account executive for Esri, and her focus is on empowering users to make geographic, data-driven decisions. Now, joining Esri 3 years ago, Taryn's career has combined her experiences of applying GIS for environmental compliance and consultative sales. Now, Taryn's passion for sustainability and forming meaningful relationships through her ability to communicate and collaborate is what drives her motivation to lead in software sales for a company with shared business values. Now, Taryn has grown into advocating for natural resources and architectural engineering and consulting firms to use the visual power of remote sensing and imagery applications within GIS to grow users' business developments. Taryn, absolutely impressive as all get out. Is there anything else you would like to share with our audience before we keep moving?
Other than I know how important it is to build on this network and understand how can you continue to grow, and we all have these questions. I know I do. So anytime I can pay that back, I'd love to. So I feel very humbled to be here today and open to any advice I can give.
Thank you so much, Taryn. We're so happy to have you. Now, joining Jen and Taryn is going to be one of their colleagues. Joe, I just realized I never asked you how to pronounce your last name. Efenecy?
No worry. Efenecy, it's a tricky one. It's not very common, so no worries.
Efenecy, I like that though. Okay, so Joe is a technical account manager at Esri, working with state and local government customers. Now, Joe has been an advocate and a leader supporting Esri customers through challenging matters by demonstrating his expertise in escalation management. Now, Joe's continued effort towards engaging with his customers, both internally and externally, has allowed him to develop and hone his communication, collaboration, and technical skills across Esri's technologies and products. Now, Joe's ability to form long-lasting relationships and understand the proper handling of critical circumstances have accelerated and empowered his growth as Esri, from intern through several analyst roles to his current role as a technical account manager to support Esri's customers across the state and local government sector. Joe, is there anything else that you would like our audience to know before we dive on into questions today?
No, similar to Jen, former intern here, so happy to help anyone connect that's interested in those opportunities as well. But just overall, excited and happy to share any experience I have to help those address questions they have about Esri, about employment, or anything along the way.
Excellent. All right. Cannot wait to get started. All right. So the first question I have, I want to pose to Taryn first. Taryn, can you share with us a little bit about how you have managed to merge your passions with your profession?
Yeah, so you probably hear this all the time, right? Like when you choose work that aligns with your interests and your passions, you feel more engaged, more motivated and productive, right? And therefore happy. And that's what I kept to myself and trying to find a way to position myself in a workforce. And so I wanted to just stay true to that. And I looked at my soft skills and my hard skills, and I said, how can I fuse those experiences together? So I noticed I had come from various positions of sales, retail, customer service, consulting. I noticed I was taking on a lot of projects in college that were very people-centric. I noticed how outgoing I wanted to be in front of customers, or in front, like leading a team or out in the field. So I noticed I had that people aspect, and then I had this very scientific, love to work in the environmental planning or environmental field, environmental compliance, all this GIS experience from coming from my college years. So how could I bridge those two, right? I networked and I found how I could brand myself and align those interaction paths. And I thought, okay, number one in GIS, Esri, what's people and driven? Sales. And I reached out to Esri recruiters and asked their recommendations to find the right team for me. And so then I was able to find that right fit of my home. And I just followed those kind of the feelings of the motivation I had, and then looked for what was my end goal that I wanted to do. I wanted to work for a company that had true environmental values. And I luckily found that with help of just voicing what I was interested, and then asking for help and not being afraid to network.
Love that. Oh, I'm loving this advice. Taryn, thank you for starting us off so strong. Now, before we keep moving, I do want to give our other speakers a chance. So if y'all want to weigh in on something, let me know. You can raise your hand if you'd like. If you have questions or comments for the speakers as we go, please shout them out in that group chat over there. I'll keep my eyes peeled. But if there's something that, one of our speakers touches on and you want to expand on, or if we're asking, or if we're addressing one of your questions and you want to give us some context, please feel free to throw it up there in the group chat. So Jen, I want to talk to you next. Based on your experiences, why do you think it's so important that we align our personal values within the values of the workplace we join?
That's a great question. I can't speak for everyone, as everyone has different motivating factors for why they choose to work at a certain organization. But in the spirit of this question, it's important to align personal values with workplace values, because it gives you that extra motivation to wake up every single day, to go be proud of the organization that you work for. And then also within means, if you need to work extra hours during the day, you still have that passion to wake up early, stay a little bit later to actually do the work that you're passionate about.
I think you're absolutely right. It does make it a lot easier to sort of go that extra mile, right? Especially, when you're kind of tired or things aren't really going super great. I know that my connection with the Power to Fly, like mission and metrics, like are really something that super helped me at times where maybe the rest of my life wasn't going super great, but I could lean on the fact that I was doing something that aligned with my values via work, even if I wasn't making great strides in that in my personal life. So I think that's a wonderful way to look at it. Do you think that this alignment, or this, cognizance of, trying to make this alignment, how do you think that that's really impacted your career development?
It's really impacted my career development in a way that has allowed me to really be excited to explore other opportunities within the Esri company itself, to see what more I can learn in supporting Esri's mission, goals, and values. I'm just within the professional services division, and there's so many opportunities within the division, but then also collaborating with other amazing folks like Taryn, like Joseph, to see if we can work together across the organization to continue to uplift Esri's mission and goals. It just gives you that motivation to really keep expanding your stretch and reach within the org.
I like that. Now, I can personally look back at times in my work history where my goals and my values have not been aligned with what the org was, either because they had much loftier ones or just a completely different field of things that concerned me. For you, what kinds of problems maybe have you experienced when your values were not aligned with the work you were doing?
A really good question. I think it would be what you would anticipate from what I described earlier: lack of motivation, lack of passion, potentially to the degree where it's very difficult for you to put your best foot forward into the work that you're tasked with day to day. Life is already challenging in and of itself, and to not have that motivation day to day and doing your work for an organization can have a lot of negative impacts. So that's why it's so important, to the best of your ability, to try and find what makes you passionate to go to work every single day, whether it be the people. Maybe it's a little bit the work itself, but maybe it's the people that you also work with or the customers that you support.
So just something that kind of came to mind as I was listening to you answer. Do you feel like this is either a pass fail kind of thing? Do you feel like either a company is aligned with your values or they're not? Or do you think that there might be more of a gray area in there of, no, this company isn't really aligned with my values, but it's not aligned with my values? You know what I mean? Like, do you think it's black or white, or do you think there are shades of gray in there?
Super good question. For me personally, I would say it's definitely a gray area. And the reason why it's gray is that I can even think, whether it's my relationship with a certain organization or from different people to people, I'm not going to always 100% be on the same page with any organization or a specific person. And that's okay. That's what makes the world diverse and unique. And that's the only way we can get different perspectives that really foster such a great community. So yeah, I don't think I'm definitely the shades of gray, not black or white.
That's good. No, as I'm thinking back, I'm like, you know what? There were definitely places I worked that, why did I apply there? How could I have ever thought that this was going to be something I could be passionate about once you fully understand, maybe like the direction the company's going or whatever. And that's not to say it's not a slam on those companies. People are just different. My values didn't match what they were doing. Their values didn't match what I wanted to do. So it made sense, right? But you're right. I mean, this can be a lot harder to tell for ourselves, because you might not be in a great fit, but you might also not be in the worst possible fit either, right? So I think it is really interesting to kind of try and take that step back and see, like, is this a great fit? Is this like a mid-range fit, or is this something that like you're going to need to change a whole lot to make yourself feel more fulfilled? I look back at times where like my goals were not aligned with the company's goals, and those were the times I was really frustrated, because like I didn't feel like I was doing a good job at work. I also probably wasn't doing a good job at work, apart from not feeling like it. And so it is kind of interesting to think that, it's not necessarily one thing comes before the other. You can kind of have this whole like, all mixed up and kind of swirled together. Yeah. Have you felt like that in your career in the past?
100%. And Meg, that actually reminds me, I think one thing though to keep in mind in what I think is a very different shades of gray world is know your deal breakers, because you don't want to force yourself to stay in a situation that is ultimately violating one of your deal breakers. So
yeah. No, I think
there's also that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great way to look at it, right? Think of it like pizza toppings. Like if somebody wants like pineapple on their pizza, I'm not splitting a pizza with you. I'm not. I'm 36. I die on this hill. I am not splitting a pizza with you. But if you want like, let's say you want like pepperoncinis and something else I don't like, black olives, like, okay, sure. My pieces can butt up against yours, or I can pick the olives off of my pizza. It'll be fine. But I think you're right. Knowing what is a deal breaker is going to help you find that better fit, or something that can be adjusted to be your better fit a lot more easily than saying like, I don't know, I don't want to work in food service. And then you go into work in food service. You kind of, you got to know what your absolute deal breakers are there. Did it take you, actually, Jen, that's a good question. Did it take you a long time to figure out what your deal breakers were? Did they like grow as you got older? Or do you think they lessened? What was that like for you? And Taryn and Joe, I'm coming for you next on this one. So start thinking about it.
I definitely had to think on things rather than initially just react off of gut instinct.
Okay.
it's really, for me, it's really important to take that time to really assess the situation, whether, okay, I thought this was a deal breaker. Is it still a deal breaker today? Or is this something like Meg, you described, something that can be adjusted? So all will be fine in the end.
I like it. Taryn, how about you? Did you have deal breakers kind of in mind when you started your professional career, or is this something that you sort of picked up as you went by saying like, oh yeah, I tried pineapple on pizza. I don't like that. Not for me, not anymore.
No, I did. Actually, I think my first more formal role that aligns with me prior to coming to Esri, I worked at an environmental planning firm, right? When you get an environmental science degree, what are you doing when you don't know what to do? Go into environmental planning. And I tried it, right? It was what my professors and what my network around me was recommending that I start with. So I tried it. It took me a while to find it. And then once I was there, I noticed working at a small consulting firm, though it was environmental compliance, it wasn't aligned with the type of collaborative environment that I know that I needed for myself. Like I need to know that I can go to my boss, my superior, my manager, and express where I need help, where I need work, where I want feedback. And if I was met with those tendencies of like, am I wasting time? Am I adding homework? Those hesitations, like I wasn't going to thrive in that type of environment. I wasn't going to do a good end to my day. And so I stayed with that organization. I saw it through. And then I just noticed I wasn't in the type of work environment that I knew I was going to thrive in. At the end of the day, I wanted to keep coming toward. And then I also learned it wasn't actually pro environment. It was just pro developer. And so I just wasn't aligned, and I had to, that's what made me go and reach out to Esri, knocking on their door, like, hi, my heart, my gut's telling me it's here. How can I have those conversations? And I realigned, and I didn't rush that though. So that's what I recommend.
Ooh, the not rushing, that one's going to be, at least for me, that would be the hard part.
Mhm.
Was it for you, or do you think it was something that you understood it was more of a marathon than a sprint?
I wanted to make sure that I was still doing thoughtful work where I was at the time, and then not getting ahead of myself to compare, like, this is where I know I should be at the end of the day. Why aren't I there? It's like, I was taking the steps to get there, and I was realigning when it came. So just staying on that focused path, but still showing up for myself as I wanted to at that job where I wasn't aligned, right? So that's what I mean.
Excellent. Thank you, Jen and Taryn, for being so transparent about this. Joe, how about you? Do you think that you had a set of deal breakers when you joined the workforce, or do you think this is something you developed after being in, different situations or different orgs?
Yeah, I mean, those are two tough answers to follow, so I'll see what I can do here. But yeah, I definitely think it's something that develops as you grow within your role, and then like within the company that you're with, and then as you grow as a person. So I think each of those things kind of weigh on and change a little bit how you see things, and how you react to certain things. So prior to me coming to Esri, I had an economics background in college, and also did geography and GIS as kind of a double major. And I really thought economics was going to be where I went. I remember I did an internship before I really pushed down the geography and GIS path. And I thought this is going to be great. Like, I love this. This comes natural. And I hated every minute of it. And it wasn't the work. It wasn't the company necessarily, but it was really the people. And I feel bad for saying that now, but I really didn't mesh with the type of atmosphere that the company had, and I found that even like as I spoke to more people that were in this similar field, they kind of were in the same boat. And so when I found I was speaking with a few professors, and was pursuing the geography side, and I met someone that was coming to the college to speak about Esri, and she had this infectious personality that I was like, that's really cool. I wonder if more people that are there are like that. So I went to the next talk that Esri had, and the same two different people came, but the same infectious personality, completely different personalities, but that type of aura around them of, hey, I may know certain things about the software that you don't, but come ask me a question. I want to get to know you. I want to get to answer questions that you may have. And it was that type of person that drew me towards Esri in the end. But I think that's also what kind of grew and shaped and molded kind of my beliefs and my deal breakers was I could bend towards certain things and work in certain areas, but if I couldn't be surrounded with people that I felt had my back, I could go to in any situation, and then I could return that when other people came to me. I didn't know if I could really thrive in a place like that. So I did form deal breakers after I finally found what my niche was.
I think that's great. And I love how you describe, kind of not only just relating to, like what the company's doing, but like having that feeling when you meet people from the company, right? Because you're not really necessarily responding to that person's like personality. You're responding to the kind of cultural feel that they're bringing with them, right? And so seeing that not only from one company rep, but then seeing it from two new company reps and getting kind of that same feeling, it does help you to think like, oh yeah, this might be a vibe that I can get with, and I'll fit in at this group. Jen, for you, what would you advise people do when their values aren't really aligned with the company's vision? We get this question a lot, and it seems to come overwhelmingly from people who can't really afford to switch jobs at the moment, which is totally understandable. None of us are in probably great straits right now, America specific, but I'm sure all over the world, there's plenty of other people that are in situations that maybe aren't as ideal as they'd like them to be. So what happens when we know we need to change, but we can't make that change right now? You're not resourced enough. There are not opportunities available. What do you recommend people do if they find themselves in that spot?
That is not an easy situation to be in, especially because it goes back to things like we've mentioned before, where it's just so hard to log on to your computer that day to do your day-to-day tasks. So, one way that people get motivated to wake up in the morning, like we've already said, is I'm passionate about working for this organization because their values and vision are in alignment with mine. If that is not in alignment, there are other reasons, obviously, why people wake up in the morning to do their job. And maybe some examples for me are the people that I get to work with internally. It can also be with the actual, I'm in a customer facing role, like Taryn and Joe. And so working with our customers is another motivating factor to wake up in the morning and do my work. Even if there was a scenario where my values weren't in alignment with that organization. So find something internally within your day-to-day tasks that allows you to log onto your computer in the morning. However, another idea, right, is that we're spending at least 40 hours a day, or no, 40 hours a week. Ooh, not a day. Hello. A week doing our job. The rest of the time is for you to live your life. And so finding other passions in life where it's okay, I just need to clock in my 8 hours. What is something that I can look forward to at the end of the day? Is it spending time with friends, family, volunteering at local nonprofits, animal rescue, shout out for those. Find things outside of work too that really make you happy, and see if that can help you in the short term. Work with the challenges that you're working with in your current job. And then also use that time, maybe research other organizations that speak to you more, and maybe through time you'll be able to make that transition where you're financially stable, but also going to be able to work for an organization that's more lined up with your values.
I like that. I like the idea of, if you can't find that satisfaction or get that like sense of purpose from your job, that's okay. Find another option for you to find that for yourself. And honestly, depending on what that sense of purpose or, what you really need for yourself, it might actually be a lot easier to find in your personal life than your professional life. Because, we have a lot more control over where we spend our time when it comes to our personal time. We have a lot of people chiming in the chat, so y'all are really hitting the nail on the head here when it comes to a lot of the things that people are thinking behind the scenes. Christy had said, for me, being in the corner office is a deal breaker. I spent a year as the assistant to a CEO. I learned that I have no desire to be in such a formal setting ever again. The position was a very important one a very important learning opportunity for me. Christy, good for you. Absolutely. Congratulations on making that realization. It is hard. I was a year into law school before I realized I hated it. So like, good for you for taking that situation and realizing like what wasn't going to work for you from it. Because especially that like that it's not necessarily a myth, but it kind of is, right? Like that mythical corner office that you're going to find yourself in someday, and you're going to be like the big shot. It's going to be great. Like that's not for everyone, and that's okay. Like Christy, I'm with you. I don't want that either. Like I'm good in my corner of the bottom of floor of my house office. Like that's good for me. So I think that's something really important to remember. Now, if you are trying to find that value, in your own workplace, let's say you can't find it anywhere else. A lot of times people take issues when, somebody high up in the company, or maybe like just leadership in general, doesn't have a lot going for them when it comes to like emotional intelligence, right? Or that intelligence quotient there. Do you have any tips, Jen or Joe, for creating that value in a workplace when it really doesn't exist from the top down? Jen, do you have experience in this?
I think I'm fortunate enough where I haven't found myself in that position, but I do have friends from school who have found themselves in this position. And, it goes back to advice that I've already spoken to, where, you know what? One idea, I'm going to change my answer. I'm actually originally from Hawaii. And as cheesy as it sounds, one of the amazing things growing up in the Hawaiian culture is spreading aloha and spreading kindness. And, one act of kindness to one person or one stranger can go a long way. And it does. I genuinely believe it has that ripple effect. And so that is, I think I can say personally in my own life experience, I've seen that change people individually. I've seen that change entire teams. Not saying that I'm the one who caused it, but, spreading kindness can really create a culture of change. And hopefully through time, enough people have been impacted where in theory it could make its way all the way to the tippy top, or at least enough where the direct people that you work with, it can make it a more enjoyable experience, for lack of a better phrasing.
No, I think that's an excellent way to look at it, and there's even more amazing questions being asked in the chat here. Joe is coming in hard, like doing all the work here to answer questions in the chat. Nissa had asked one, so I want to highlight this in case anybody doesn't have visibility on the chat here. Nissa had written in that it was interesting about the deal breaker, and then in every workplace, it's not always going to be rainbows and sunny days. When I talk about it, it's peaches and puppies. Like not every day can be peaches and puppy dogs. And so Nissa had asked about ways to recognize a deal breaker instead of, kind of just another rainy day where you have to face what you're doing at work and kind of conquer from there. Joe, you had a really great response. I don't want to read from it because you're right here and can talk to us about it, but talk us through what you had answered to Nissa, because I think this is beautiful and really great advice.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone goes through ups and downs no matter what job they have. I mean, I could, if I could make millions raising puppies, I'm sure there'd be a day where I still hated it. Probably the day where I have to clean up the yard or something, but everyone has mundane tasks or things where you just lose a little bit of motivation and drive. And so kind of listening to yourself, listening to your friends, your coworkers, your colleagues, the people that you trust, and kind of asking those questions of yourself, like, is this just what the right now, or is this something bigger? Is it kind of a trend that I can't tackle and face myself. I can't have an impact on. This is something that kind of is that separating factor between you and what you're doing, or is it just that phase that you're going through? It's the valley and not the mountaintop type thing. So there's always a peak that you can come across, and there's always going to be another valley that you sink down into. So I think finding those times where how you can get yourself out of those down trends, finding those little wins to kind of help pick yourself back up, and then allow you to kind of reevaluate. When things are great, I think you should ask questions and evaluate like how you think things are going. When things are bad, ask questions and evaluate how you think things are going. I think you'll find that the answers that you get when things are good and bad, you'll start to find things that you align with and can help you make those decisions down the road of whether or not some place or some role is the right fit. I think there's a ton of different answers that you can find kind of looking at those different perspectives.
I think that is absolutely wonderful. I tell you, y'all, I sit through so many of these. There's always at least one moment in every single one where I'm like, how did I not think of that? And that's absolutely, no, truly, like it's a really good call out, right? Because, if you're hearing kind of a, maybe an alarm in your head, seeing red flags, something doesn't feel right, listen to it, and then ask more questions around it, because you're right. It might just be a really bad day. It might just be one of those days where it seems like the universe is telling you that not only does today suck, but basically everything that's going around sucks, and it's just going to suck. It's going to be like this forever, and this is the worst. But then the next day comes and you're like, okay, well, fine, it was just the day. But I think you're right. It does pay to ask those questions of yourself, listen and listen to what's going on, but like be able to self-investigate a little bit more so that you can tell, is this a sky is falling kind of day, or is this just like kind of business as usual? So I do like that idea of trying to listen to yourself a bit more, but also like, ask yourself those questions, and they're really good ones to ask.
And I'll add real quick, Meg.
Yeah, please.
I think one piece that I've seen a lot of the great people in that my managers or people that I've seen succeed here at Esri, or my friends that I've seen succeed, one thing that I've seen them do, and it's the same trait that I try to exhibit in my role, is when something's not going well, when you are having a bad day, a bad week, or you're trying to find these deal breakers or trying to overcome these challenges, I think asking yourself what you can change to work towards fixing that, whether it's a culture thing, whether it's a task thing, a people thing. If you have some sort of action that you can give to change that outlook, I think you should try and take it. The worst that's going to happen is you didn't change it, and I think you'll learn answers from that. And the best thing that can come from that is you did change it, and then you're working towards whatever it is you were wanting to overcome.
Yes. Oh, I think that's wonderful. We got another comment in the chat here. Albert had said, I like this conversation. Trust yourself, but be curious about whether you're experiencing what is called, what does it say? Whether you're experiencing what's been called constructive discomfort. So is this something that is uncomfortable because it's part of the process to get you, to someplace else? Or are you just sitting in discomfort and it's not actually doing anything to help you or make the situation better? I think that's thank you, Albert. Thank you. That's a really good point to draw there. So Joe, my next question is for you also. A lot of people wanted to know about ways that they could foster a problem-solving approach. Do you have a specific way that you tend to tackle obstacles like this at work when they crop up?
Yeah. So I mean, fostering a problem-solving approach, I'd say there's probably a dozen different ways that I could say that anyone can do that, or methods to tackle. So I'll speak from kind of my personal experience. I look to really create goals and empower the people that are around me, and set timelines. So for me, there's 100 different ways to solve a problem in most situations. I may not always have the right perspective, or the perspective that's going to get it accomplished in the right manner or the right amount of time. And so kind of bouncing those ideas off other people, whether it's your colleagues, whether it's your superiors, or whether it's those that report to you, I think kind of empowering them to ask those questions, create goals for themselves and for the team, and then create timeframes together. I think that can go leaps and bounds towards fostering a problem-solving approach. And then working to kind of overcome those obstacles I think understanding the perspective from, I guess, like each stakeholder. So like in my role personally, it's very customer facing, but I do work with our internal teams to support those customers a lot. So I've got kind of skin in the game for both my customers and then for our internal support teams that are helping those customers. And so I want both to be successful. And it's a challenge at times to kind of walk the thin line that I'm supporting both an internal and an external customer per se. So understanding the perspective from both sides and kind of trying to find the truth and what aligns with both sides. And then figuring out kind of what action I can take to best assist both sides. And I think that framework of understanding everyone's goals and their perspectives for reaching those goals, and then kind of understanding the time frame and what I can do to assist, kind of really help me to work on like that immediate task, and then what's next to help accomplish or overcome that obstacle.
Ooh, loving this, loving all of this. Okay. All right, let's talk a little bit more about if you're facing a problem at work. This person had written in specifically, when facing a problem at work, when do you advise asking for help? I don't want my managers to think that I can't handle my responsibilities, but do you have any tips for improving cross collaboration? So this is a really good question. I think it actually has a couple of questions kind of buried within it. But Taryn, I want to go to you on this one. What do you think about the timing of asking for help? What should people know about this?
I've been in that situation where, you don't want to think you can't handle your own responsibilities. The times when I have tried to just stay in my little hole and work through that problem, more often than not, once you finally reach that point where you need to go and ask for help, you could have maybe done that sooner. So I noticed those patterns. And in my own experience, I'm noticing people that are comfortable asking and being okay with receiving feedback is you're seen more in a positive light and you establish trust. So what I have done to find the right timing is know what I know, what in this situation, what I want to do to move forward, how far can I get to my end goal, and then look where those pieces are. So then you're going to your manager or your coworker or your next best help and saying, hello, this is my issue. This is how I think would be best to move forward. These are my resources I have. What would you recommend? Or what am I missing? Or what gaps? Or is there some other light? So you're showing that you have done the work. You're showing your mindfulness. You're putting respect to that time, and you're respecting now your time and whoever else is asking time as well. And you're coming prepared. So you can't be seen like you did a bad job, right? You tried, and then you've now asked the courage for help in that timely manner before it kind of bubbled up and became a bigger issue for you to do, right? So just reflect, do all that you can with that's on your plate with the time that you can manage, and then keep that end goal of me trying to be productive. How can I do that in the best way forward? And being comfortable and courageous to ask for help. And companies that want to foster innovation, they're going to allow for that open teamwork, and they want to hear how you're doing, right? Don't stay in your own silo. Ask for help. People aren't mind readers either. That's also what I noticed. So just speak up. People want to help you. And once you give it back and you establish that feedback, you're going to be more collaborative, and it's going to snowball into this more positive feedback loop.
Oh, I like that. I think you hit a really strong point there when you said to look at ways that you would solve it. I think I've been in this position before, and I've thought like, well, I don't know what to do. That's not actually true. It's not that I don't know what to do. It's that I don't know which option is best, or I know of these two options, but maybe there's another one out there I'm not thinking of. And this is a really, like you said, this is a really good way to say, like, go to your manager, or go to your supervisor, whoever would be the next person to help you with this, and just say like, hey, here's the work that I've done. I think we should do this, but I'm worried that I'm missing something, or I'm worried that I don't know a third option that would be better than these two that I've found, or whatever. And I think you're right. That really does, it's proactive on a number of levels, because it's saying, hey, here's the stuff I've done. I still have this remaining question regarding it. Can you help me figure it out? Because you're not saying, I don't know how to do it, you do it. You're saying, help me figure out how to do this better. So I think that's wonderful. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about what it means to kind of like, when we're thinking in terms of productivity, right? Because this is a loaded word. It means a lot of things to a lot of different people. How can you focus on helping others to increase your productivity instead of focusing on our own work that we need to get done? Now, this sounded kind of like a bit tangled up to me the first time I read the question, but then I was reading through it and I was like, oh, this actually does make a ton of sense. So Taryn, let's go to you first on this. Do you think that focusing on helping others can increase your own productivity, or do you think it's just a smoke screen for avoiding the things that you really should be doing to get your own job done?
I definitely think that's what drives my motivation and my work and how I kind of reset my mind frame. And I noticed this in a recent book and I recommend this to anyone else for resources. It's called The Happiness Equation by Neil Patricia. It's a great book on productivity, but it talks about how we kind of have this shared human psychology to want to do good for others, to feel accomplished, to feel happier at the end of the day. It makes us happy. And if you're able to help someone else, you have a more satisfaction at the end of your day. So what I try to do is think of the end user, end use, end goal. And if I keep that to my frame of mind, like, then I know I'm being a helpful friend, advocate, advisor, colleague, teammate. Even if I'm doing these dumb, mundane administrative tasks, it's like, it's going to get me to that next goal and it's going to impact this person in this way. And I'm the face of that. So that's what drives those next steps. So just that mindset.
All right. Just as a reminder for y'all, we have about 13 minutes. So just not tons of time left in today's session. These always go really quickly. So if you have a question that you'd like us to answer, throw them into the chat. We'll try to get to as many as we can. My next question is going to go to Joe. When you say that helping others can help you to advance your career, how does that work exactly? Are you implying like through networking? What do you mean when you say that helping others is how you can advance yourself?
Yeah, I mean, you're just tons of great questions today. I'd say like helping others is at the core of success for anyone, for any role. I mean, no one gets anywhere without a little bit of help, and without having the ability, the opportunity to help others along the way. There are just so many benefits to helping in general, but I'd say being open and willing to helping others. One, it lets you learn new perspectives. I mean, early on in my career at Esri, I was an analyst, and so I'd be trying to overcome different technical problems with software, trying to figure out why a certain user was encountering something and I wasn't. And there's so many different ways to run into an issue, so many different ways to solve an issue. And so my way of thinking wasn't necessarily the only way to get it done. I may reach a resolution, but someone else could reach it in a completely different way. And so there's pros and cons to each way going about it. And so having that collaborative nature, taking time to help others, and encourage that collaborative culture, all it does is increase kind of tenfold, I'd say. I mean, when I was starting as an analyst at Esri, one thing I'll say is I was never afraid, because the people around me were always encouraging me to ask questions, come to them for help. And then when I became into that role where I was more of a senior analyst, I had the knowledge to help people, and I was kind of doing the same thing. The people coming to me, I was sitting there happy to be able to give something back and say, hey, I got some help along the way, happy to kind of walk you through, happy to mentor you, show these things. And so kind of showing your colleagues that your colleagues, your bosses, your reports, whoever it may be, that you're kind of open to helping, it only leads to kind of more of those around you being willing to help you when you need it. And so I'd say it's a form of networking. So I guess through networking, you can help others. But being able to help and listen to what others need, and then be able to provide your own experiences and your own insight to those situations, I think just goes a long way to advancing your career, because it allows you to learn from each and every person you get a chance to speak with.
Oh, loving this. And you're right. it is one of those things where you get to feel good because you helped other people. But opening up that like kind of that behavior to be modeled by other people is massive, right? Like it does not matter if it's, you know, one of your coworkers or someone who reports to you or somebody who you report to, you know, having that seen and kind of putting that out into, you know, it's kind of like woo woo as it sounds, but like putting that out into the universe, like it's good, it's better for everybody. So why not just try it? Now, when you're talking about, you know, we talked a little bit earlier about mission driven work, right? Trying to find a place that whose mission that you align with. When you are at a place like this, it can feel really easy to kind of get too invested, right? Or to get a little bit more invested in your life, like in your work life, than you are in outside of work. So for you, how do you help yourself to set boundaries to protect your mental health, or to try and make sure that you're not becoming too invested in your work life? Joe, do you have any advice for this?
Yeah. I mean, so my wife jokes me all the time that I get very invested easily in things that I can be passionate about. And so she helps me with gentle reminders or little post-its like take it easy, take a breath, go for a walk, stuff like that. But as corny as it sounds, I used to, and still do, I write myself post-it notes of things to try and accomplish each day during a week, and then once a time each week. And I change those out every week as well. And so I'll leave a note to say, go read a book for 10 minutes in the middle of the workday, go escape something, go for a walk, go take the dogs out, something like that, that'll change each week. And then each day I try to do a 5 or 10 minute thing to kind of get myself off of my mind off work. Because when I do get too invested, I mean, I sit there, I'll work through lunch, I'll kind of run back into the office. And I'm kind of just constantly working to always achieve that goal or get something finished to move on to the next task. So one thing that's also helped me is to loop in other people. I mean, my boss has done a great job of being open to communicate and kind of talk about when I feel like, hey, I love this project and I just want to work on it. He's done a great job of kind of reeling me in and saying, hey, yeah, but it's not the only thing that matters. We have other tasks going on. You have a life outside of work. So he's done a great job of kind of reminding me that there are other things that are important too. It's not the only important task that you have going on. And so one thing that we've done is work to set up like a lunch once a week where we'll discuss kind of what we've got going on. We'll chat about kind of work, non-work, things of that nature, get their opinion. And then when we get close to kind of completing the project or kind of something that we're working on, I'll try to set up time with my coworkers to chat and kind of discuss things, bounce ideas off of. And I'll set that up where that gives me a time constraint every day where, hey, I have to be done with whatever I'm working on by this time, and there's no way backing out of it. So I've got to sign off, call it quits, and then go speak with a coworker and then be done for the day. So long answer for kind of how to set boundaries to protect my mental health, but I think everyone's got a different way of doing it. And I think finding something that gives you a little bit of reprieve of stress or a little bit of time for yourself, whether it's reading a book, going for a walk, go eating a snack, whatever it may be. I think forcing yourself to take little mental breaks, escape little things here and there, I think all go a long way. And one thing I'll say about my boss and his boss as well is they do a great job of giving ourselves time to focus on ourselves. We actually have a running meeting 3 times a week where it's just a stand-up call where we're not allowed to talk about anything work-related. And it's for our whole team, 15 minutes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And we chat about everything from projects we've got going around the house, kids, food to try, anything we did over the weekend. So it's a great reprieve of getting our minds off of work, kind of keeping that mental health and that drive in place, and really giving ourselves an opportunity to unwind and take a moment back from what we've got going on.
I love that. I think that's absolutely wonderful. I have also done the kind of like, my husband calls it putting a fence around work. So like I'll book an exercise class. Like there's a boxing gym down the street from my house. So I'll book an exercise class at 5 o'clock, which means I have to go. Like it's like you said, Joe, you know, like I can't cancel it. It's already paid for. I got my money in it. So I got to go. And so like setting that up, even on days where I knew I was going to have to come back because we had a big project going or something, I knew I was going to have to come back and work a little bit more after work. At minimum, it stopped me from doing that for projects that didn't deserve it, right? It stopped me from kind of saying like, well, I'll take a 5-minute break, but then I'll just come right back in. It made it so that like, if the project is really important enough that I really do need to come back in, I will still feel like that when I come back from boxing. But I'm also not going to be like, well, it'll be fine, and kind of like skive off if that's not really what's going to help, right? I think that's absolutely wonderful. All right, we've had some great questions come in. I'm so sorry we weren't able to get to more, y'all. You had amazing questions. Jen also had another great comment on here before we dive into our last slide. Jen had said, don't forget, you work to live, you don't live to work. So since work is what's funding your life, don't forget that that's where your focus, you want to make sure that you are doing something that supports your life, not doing something that supports your work. You don't live to work here. At least most of us don't. All right, so I'm going to jump us over into this last slide we're going to show you all today. This is some questions that we had asked to the Esri team before today's session, and we always get some really great answers here. So Jen, you had described the company culture as supportive. And Taryn, your favorite part about working at Esri is that everyone wants to see you win. And I think they're amazing examples of like answers that we get a lot, actually, right? Like people are excited because their cultures are supportive or collaborative. Joe, I want to talk to you a little bit more about your top tips for someone who's interviewing here. So are these tips just for somebody who's interviewing at Esri, or do you think they're multi-applicable to wherever it is you're interviewing?
I think they're applicable to pretty much anywhere. I mean, every role, the whole purpose of a job is that there's a problem and someone needs to solve it. There's a challenge that someone has to overcome. And so I think it helps to do research into the company when you're interviewing, understand what their values are, see if they align with you from a broad perspective, but then really into the role, the job description, read reviews online, see if you can message people on LinkedIn that currently are in the role, and see what their thoughts are about the role, and kind of get a broad understanding of what the role is. And then when you're reading that job description, when you're going to that interview, prepping for it, whether it's virtual or in person, understand how your skills, whatever they may be, soft skills, hard skills, technical, whatever they may be, how they can address problems that you can see the role having and challenges that may be in place, and how you can directly kind of work to accomplish those.
I love that. Okay. We have a little under 2 minutes before we need to close out today's session. I want to make sure we're being conscious of time for everybody. But before we go, I just want to say a huge thank you to our speakers, Joe, Jen, and Taryn. Thank you all for taking time out of your day to spend with us. It's not just that, y'all, these people prepare so much in advance of today's sessions. We're so grateful to our guest speakers. So thank you all for spending this time with us, sharing your expertise and being so transparent with us. It's really, truly valuable for our audience members. And then I also want to extend a huge thank you to our audience themselves. My job wouldn't exist without you, but truly these events don't exist without you. We want to be here to bring you the answers that you want, and we want to make sure that the time that you spend with Power to Fly and great companies like Esri is well worth it. So I hope that you all have enjoyed your time here with us today. I hope that we have sparked a little bit more interest, either in Esri or in different ways that you can, kind of figure out what you really need, where your values lie within your work, and what you need from your employer, from a supporting org. I hope that y'all have had a wonderful time spending time with us today, and I can't wait to see you on more events going forward. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and we will see y'all back here